The first time you hold a beaker, you're 7 years old. It's not yours. It belongs to the chemistry teacher at the primary school, where your mother mops floors at night. She brings you sometimes when the sitter falls through. You sit in the back of empty classrooms eating cold tortillas while she works. One night you find a cabinet unlocked. Beakers, burners, glass tubes. You don't know what any of it does. You just like the way the glass feels. Clean, precise, nothing like your life. Your mother finds you asleep on the floor surrounded by glassware at 2 a.m. She doesn't yell. She just wakes you gently and walks you home. She never mentions it. But the next week, there's a book on your bed. Used, worn, Introduction to Chemistry. She must have saved for months. You read it by candlelight because the electricity cuts off every evening. By 14, you've read that book 47 times. You know the periodic table better than the names of your neighbors. You understand valence electrons before you understand girls. The local priest thinks you have a vocation. He's wrong. You don't want God. You want to understand how things work at the level where they stop being things and start being possibilities. The scholarship comes when you're 17. University in Culiacan. Full ride. You're the first person from your street to leave. The women gather outside your door the morning you go. They press pesos into your mother's hands. You pretend not to notice. You pretend a lot of things. At university, you discover that being smart isn't the same as being educated. Your classmates had tutors. Their parents are doctors, engineers, professors. They talk about things you've never heard of. You spend the first year just catching up. You sleep 4 hours a night. You work in the cafeteria for food money. You graduate third in your class. Third. You apply to 100 jobs. Pharmaceutical companies, research labs, government positions. You hear back from 12. You interview for 12. You get 0. The last interview is at a lab in Mexico City. The hiring manager has your resume in front of him. He asks about your university. He asks about your thesis. He asks about your research interests. Then he asks where you're from originally. You tell him. His face changes. Not much. Just enough. We'll be in touch. You wait 6 months. They never call. You move back home. You sleep in the same room you grew up in. You get a job at a farm supply store. You sell fertilizer to men who can barely write their names. You have a degree in organic chemistry. You sell fertilizer. Your mother doesn't ask questions. She just makes dinner and watches you eat. The man comes on a Tuesday. He's not what you expected. Old, maybe 60. Wears a guayabera like he's going to church. Buys lime sulfur and pretends to read the label for 10 minutes while you stack bags. Finally, he speaks. You're the chemist. Not a question, a statement. I'm a farm supply salesman, you say. He smiles. Same thing, where I come from? He doesn't introduce himself. He doesn't need to. You've seen his face on the news. Not his face, exactly. His name, his organization. Everyone in Sinaloa knows who Don Raul works for. I need someone who understands molecules, he says. Not recipes, molecules. You tell him you're not interested. He nods like he expected this. Leaves a card on the counter. Think about your mother's cough. You didn't mention your mother's cough. You never mention your mother's cough. But he knows. Of course he knows. This is Sinaloa. Everyone knows everything. You last 2 weeks. 2 weeks of watching your mother struggle upstairs. 2 weeks of counting pesos at the dinner table. 2 weeks of lying awake at night doing the math. Treatment costs, rent, food. The numbers never work. They never worked with a degree. They definitely don't work with farm supplies. You call the number. They send a car at midnight. You're blindfolded for 2 hours. When the blindfold comes off, you're standing in a warehouse with no windows. Concrete floor, metal tables. The smell is staggering. Ammonia, ether, something rotting. In the corner, a man is stirring a blue liquid in a plastic drum with a wooden paddle. He's sweating. He's missing 2 fingers. Don Raul appears from nowhere. This is what we have, he says. Make it better. You spend a week just observing. The operation is chaos. No measurements, no temperatures, no safety protocols. They're making methamphetamine, like they're brewing moonshine. The purity fluctuates between 50 and 70%. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it kills people. They don't care. You draw up a plan. Glassware, heating mantles, reflux condensers, rotary evaporators, a fume hood, a list of reagents with purity specifications. You hand it to Don Raul. He reads it silently, makes 1 phone call, 3 days later, a truck arrives with everything. You realize you just spent more money on lab equipment than your entire university education cost. You train the first cook yourself. His name is Lalo, 19 years old. He was picking tomatoes 6 months ago. He's never seen a chemistry textbook, but he's smart, quick, asks good questions. You teach him the way you wished someone had taught you. Slow, precise. Why things work, not just how. Why does it have to be so pure? He asks one night. Because pure is consistent, you say. Consistent means predictable. Predictable means customers come back. He thinks about this. So we're building a business. We're building poison, you say. But yes, a business. Lalo doesn't flinch. You're not sure if that's good or bad. The first batch tests at 97%. Don Raul holds the sample bag like it's a religious object. He doesn't say thank you. He says, double production. Within 6 months, you've built 3 labs. Each one runs like a pharmaceutical facility. Standard operating procedures, quality control checks, batch documentation. The cooks are farmers, mechanics, construction workers. You turn them into chemists. Not good chemists, but good enough. Good enough to follow instructions. Good enough not to blow themselves up. Your mother gets her treatment. You buy the house outright. You buy her a television, a refrigerator, a bed that doesn't hurt her back. She asks where the money comes from. You tell her you're consulting for a pharmaceutical company. She believes you because she has to. You visit every Sunday. She makes dinner. You eat at the same table where you learned the periodic table by candlelight. You don't tell her about the labs. You don't tell her about Lalo. You don't tell her about the morning you watched a man die because he mixed something wrong and his lungs filled with fluid in 30 seconds. You chew your food slowly and you smile. Year 2 brings changes. Don Raul gets arrested. DEA operation. You watch it on the news at a roadside taco stand. His successor is a man named Heriberto. Young, 35. No patience for science. No interest in quality. He wants volume. He wants you to cut the product with MSM. He wants you to increase output regardless of purity. You explain the economics, premium markets, brand loyalty, long-term value. He explains the barrel, the one in the backyard, the one that used to contain a cook who asked too many questions. You cut the product. Purity drops to 82%. Your premium buyers vanish within 2 months. Heriberto blames you. You show him the data. He doesn't read data. He reads fear. And you're not scared enough. Lalo comes to you at night. He's 21 now. Runs his own lab. Good at it. Better than you expected. They're talking, he says, about people from the old regime. About loose ends. Who's talking? Heriberto. His guys. They mentioned your name. You think about the barrel. You think about your mother's television. You think about the farm supply store and the cold tortillas and the candlelight. Be careful, you tell Lalo. He nods. You too, Professor. The Americans come 2 weeks later. Not in person. Through a message at a pharmacy counter. A name. A number. A time. You meet a man in a parking lot. He shows you credentials. He shows you photos of your labs. He shows you a photo of your mother walking to church. We can protect her, he says. We can protect you. New life. New country. New name. What do you want? Everything. Locations, supply chains, communication patterns, Heriberto's movements, 6 months of cooperation, then extraction. You think about the barrel. You think about Lalo. You think about the woman you saw in Tijuana last year, scratching her arms raw in front of a pharmacy with bars on the windows. You designed the molecule in her bloodstream. You optimized it. You quality tested it. You taught other people to make it. You call the number. The raids happen on a Wednesday. 8 locations simultaneously. Federal police, military, DEA advisors. Heriberto is taken at a ranch outside Mazatlan. 43 arrests, 900 kilos seized, 14 million in cash. You watch it on the news from a hotel room in Texas. They move you to Oklahoma, a small town, flat, dry. A job at a municipal water treatment plant. You test pH levels. You log chlorine concentrations. You use the same instruments you use to test methamphetamine purity. No one knows. No one asks. Your mother is 2 hours away. New name, new house, new story. You visit on Sundays. She makes dinner. She asks about your work. You tell her water treatment. She nods. She says it sounds important. She says she's proud. You chew slowly. Lalo's body is found 6 months later. You read about it in a news article buried on page 14. 14 bodies in a mass grave near the Sierra. The location matches Lab 4, the one Lalo ran. No names listed, just numbers. But you always know. You close the laptop, you go to work. You test the water, pH 7.4, acceptable range. You log it, you move on. Some nights you sit at your kitchen table with a notebook. You draw molecules, caffeine, nicotine, serotonin, dopamine. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, just shapes. The act of drawing them calms you, the way prayer calms other people. The way chemistry always calmed you, even when you didn't understand it, even when it was just a book by candlelight and a mother who believed in you. You think about that book sometimes, the one she bought with money she didn't have. You wonder if she ever regretted it, if she knew what it would lead to, if she'd do it again. You think she would. Mothers are like that. The cartel doesn't run on bullets. Bullets are just overhead. It runs on chemistry, on people who understand molecules, on people who can turn powder into money and money into power. The men with guns get the headlines. The men who understand valence electrons get a rented apartment in Oklahoma and a job testing water and a notebook full of molecules that don't hurt anyone anymore. You close the notebook. You go to sleep. Tomorrow you'll test the water again.